Well, at the time I was 16 years old, and it was summer school leading into the biggest year of my high school days. It was my senior year. I was projected to be a leader of my football team. I was being recruited by every Division I university in the United States, as well as I had a full ride scholarship to USC. I decided to go with a girl, a classmate of mine, to a secluded area on campus where we made out, we kissed, and we touched, but we never had sex. Sex never occurred. Later that same day, I noticed a lot of police presence on campus, and I was told by someone on campus that the police were looking for me. I gave my mother a call, and she gave me the best advice that if the officers were looking for me to come home, and they would come home to my house. And sure enough, they did. And since that day that I was arrested, I never came home, and I ended up serving 5 years and 2 months in prison.
You were given some pretty interesting advice by your defense lawyer at that time, were you not? When the charge was brought, and it was brought on the word of this young woman, what did your defense lawyer tell you to do?
This was the day of jury selection, and I was prepared to go in and pick a jury and go to trial. My lawyer pulled me out of the holding cell and told me that she had put together a plea bargain with the district attorney, and that plea bargain was that I plead one count to rape and would undergo what is called a 90-day observation in prison. And that 90-day observation would determine whether or not I receive probation, 3 years, or 6 years in prison. She guaranteed me that at the most I would receive 3 years, and I already had a year time served, which means that I would only serve 18 more months. I'd still be young, I'd still be able to play football, and I'd still be able to carry on my life. On the other hand, if I chose to fight this case, I would be facing 41 years to life, and this jury that would be selected would see me automatically as a big black teenager and would see me automatically as guilty.
See, that's the kind of impossible choice that criminal defendants are faced with every day in the United States now. Our system, 95% of the cases now are resolved by plea bargain.
And this voice, by the way, that we're hearing is Justin Brooks, who is Brian Banks' lawyer. Justin, you're very welcome.
Thanks. It's such an incredible situation to think about. You have a 17-year-old kid who's told you could roll the dice and go to trial and you might get a 41-year sentence, or you can take this deal and be out in 18 months. And our sentences have become so severe in the United States that innocent people are willing to plea bargain because it's just not worth the risk. The downside is it's just too risky. And in this situation, you have a 17-year-old making that decision without any counseling by his parents or any real time to think about it.
And Brian, when that choice was put in front of you, did you feel alone in making it? Was there anybody that you asked for advice?
I made the request to speak to my parents to make the best decision, and I was denied that. So I was left alone into making that decision, and it wasn't a decision that I made willingly. Rather, it was a decision that was forced upon me, who I entrusted to be my representative to help me in this situation, who my mother sold her house and car for, only wanted me to plea to a bargain and not fight this case. So I was alone and pretty much forced into taking this deal.
So at that point, did you then think, I've given up my football career?
It took days for me to actually come to terms with that and for that to sink in. But yeah, it was soon thereafter that I realized that there wouldn't be an opportunity for me to continue on with my long dream. It was over.
Yeah. And so you had to go to court and you had to say you were guilty. You had to say you did this. even when you knew in your heart you didn't do it? How hard was that?
It was very difficult.
Just the technicality, he pleaded no contest to the charges.
Thank you.
Which means he doesn't make any admissions, but he accepts the penalty.
You accept the penalty. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Sorry to be a lawyer on you.
No, yeah, it was definitely difficult because I knew the situation. I knew what had happened that day, and you know, to take on the punishment of a rapist or take on the punishment of a sex offender, it was humiliating. It is humiliating, and it was very painful, and still is. So yeah, it was very hard for me to make that decision.
And so you went on and you served 5 years. Now, could you tell us what happened that led to this dramatic turnabout?
Yeah, when last year I was online searching for jobs and decided to do it.
And this was after you had left prison and you were at home.
Yes. I actually paroled from prison in 2007, August 29th. And then just last year, I decided to do the normal check of Facebook and noticed I had a friend request. I clicked on a friend request and saw Juanetta Gibson's name in her picture, and I immediately assumed that this was some type of sick game and someone was playing on me. I couldn't imagine that it was really her. And come to find out it was. We engaged in small talk and agreed to meet. But I felt that if we were going to meet and I put my life in danger, you know, and jeopardize my freedom, I want to make sure that this is documented. I want to make sure that, you know, she and I meet in a safe environment. So I contacted a local private investigator, and we met at his office where everything is constantly monitored, video and audio. And God bless, we were able to get her to recant her statements. She actually willingly just began just talking about so many different things that went against what she previously had accused me of, and everything just went in place from there.
And she did quite plainly say that it wasn't rape.